Welcome to Questions from the Closet. I'm Ben Shalati.
And I'm Charlie Bird. Each episode, we discuss a question we commonly get asked as LGBTQ+ Latter-day Saints.
We're not trying to answer this question or come to a consensus, but simply sharing our perspectives. Today's question is, what is Bi Erasure?
Ben and I are not terribly diverse, and we share many opinions and life experiences. For example, we both love cake and ice cream.
However, Charlie loves ice cream cakes, and I love just ice cream or cake, not together.
What do you have against an ice cream cake?
Okay, here's the thing.
It's a cake made of ice cream.
No, okay.
That's so exciting.
I do love cake and I love ice cream as I stated, but what I love about ice cream is when it's like creamy and like soft. And
so the texture is too hard for you.
Yeah, so I don't want firm ice cream. I want like goopy ice cream.
So you don't like goopy.
Okay, goopy's not the right word.
Goopy.
But I want like nice soft ice cream.
So I'm assuming you don't like ice cream bars.
No. Also sensitive teeth.
You don't like a fudgesicle. You don't like an orange dreamsicle.
I'm okay with those.
But
yeah,
that's harder than an ice cream cake.
Yeah, but you don't eat it with a fork. It's a totally different method.
I'm so interested in this.
Yeah, and I know you love ice cream cake because you just had one at your birthday party.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, when there's an ice cream cake, I usually just like say no, thank you.
That's so interesting. Because I think it's so fun. It's like a cake made of ice cream.
I mean, I get
the more ice cream, the better.
I mean, the concept is fun, but I'd rather just like have cake or ice cream. I'm the same way with root beer floats. I love root beer and I love ice cream, but I don't need them together.
Huh.
Yeah. Because the ice cream just makes the root beer less good.
That's black and white thinking. And especially today, of all episodes, as we're talking about bisexuality, you're really going to try to put the binary on that?
Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
That's fair. That's a fair critique. Anyway.
With that, we like to provide a variety of voices and perspectives. And today we're joined by Sarah Winters.
Hello.
Tell us your thoughts on the ice cream debacle.
Well, I was thinking while you guys were talking is one of my favorite desserts is this thing that my mom/sister makes is this like frozen strawberry lemonade pie. So it's like an ice cream pie and it's very good. But I like brownies with ice cream. That's like
that's
best.
Delicious.
Yeah. But I don't even know the last time I had an ice cream cake. So I don't know. And
just to be clear, I will have cake and ice cream together. I just don't want a cake made of ice cream.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't get too many haters. Anyway, Sarah and I have a long storied history together. Yeah.
Okay, I'm interested. You hooked everyone.
So I met you like 13 or 14 years ago when you were just a wee child.
Yeah, I definitely don't remember that.
Yeah. Because Sarah's older sister is the last woman I dated.
Yeah.
Back in like 2009.
That was the perfect opportunity to do a spit take. I just and I almost did it with the microphone. I didn't want to ruin our equipment.
Yeah, and then Sarah and her siblings just like keep coming into my life in like odd ways, and so I like know the whole family,
leave you alone.
And we like haven't lost touch. And I've stayed at your house in Georgia a few times.
Yeah, that was the first time I remember meeting you because that was like I don't know, I was like 16 maybe. Yeah. I don't remember.
Do you wish that Ben would have stayed with your sister?
I'm not gonna answer that.
Moving on. Her husband is wonderful and perfect for her. Becca, everything worked out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, Becca is very happy with her life, and I love her whole family and her a lot. And I love Ben too.
Oh,
so,
thank you.
Yeah.
And fun fact, Sarah's in my book.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Cause when I was visiting the family, I was like, my mom has Alzheimer's and I'm sad and who's going to take care of me? Blah, 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 blah. And Sarah's like, Ben, you're our family. We'll always take care of you. It was so
really
sweet.
Cute.
Yeah, I actually don't remember saying that. So when I read your book, I was like, wow, I'm so nice.
I'm good.
But I'm really happy I said that to you because it's true. So
also, Ben, you don't have to downplay that your mom has Alzheimer's. That's like a very serious thing.
Sorry, I feel like it just comes up a lot. So
yeah, it's important.
Let's make it a light, funny thing instead of a sad thing.
It's so funny.
Anyway, this isn't about my mom. It's about how cool Sarah is.
Oh,
great.
Well, thank you.
All right, so Sarah, tell us how you self-identify.
I am bisexual, and I also say queer sometimes too because I like how loose that is. But bisexual is my identity.
Can you explain, you say the terms loose. What does that mean to you?
Just because we're going to talk a lot about being bisexual and how it can be erased by erasure. And I like the identity queer sometimes just because it's no, this is still a part of me. And, in queer can mean a lot of different things. And it took me a really long time to really understand what my identity was. So I still like saying queer because it's still something that like I like having that as a part of me, you know. So.
Yeah, I think that's cool. We did an episode on queer, I think 2 seasons ago. That was really eye-opening, and honestly since then I've warmed up to the term a lot more. It's just kind of like there's just like something different about me, like that's just like it's queer. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't really
if you get it,
explain
you get
it.
it.
Yeah, it's just like I like that too. But yeah, when I like come out to people, I say I'm bisexual. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice. So how did you like figure that out about yourself?
So it took a long time. I didn't actually really like come out to myself until like early 2021. But I started really thinking about it in like 2020. I feel like that happens to people in quarantine. We're all in our heads a lot. And I was watching a lot of TV shows and like obsessed with some characters. And I was like, I don't know why I'm like this.
Which ones?
Well, okay. So I don't think this was in 2020, but like it's fun looking back and being like, oh my goodness, I had a crush on that girl, but I like didn't realize it. But like Stranger Things, did you guys watch Stranger Things?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. Maya Hawke's character, Robin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I like was obsessed with her and I was like, oh, I just think she's so cool. That's why I stalk her Instagram for so long. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like,
the plot thickens.
yeah. So a lot of it was like, just like a little bit of thinking in 2020, but it just like was totally not a possibility to me. I also didn't really understand bisexuality in general. I think there were some bi people in my high school and I just like didn't really register it. And like also one of my friends who did come out to me as bi in high school then later came out as lesbian. And so like in my head, I was like, oh, like I don't know what bisexual is, you know? And
it was like a placeholder until someone could feel comfortable saying that they're actually gay.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like that's totally understandable. And but like I read this book called An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. Definitely read it. It's really good. But the main character is bi and like the way she talks about it and it's like a first person perspective and I was like, oh my goodness, I really relate to that. And then also like I came to BYU and I realized that like queer people exist here and it kind of made me realize like, oh, just because I was like raised in this way my whole life thinking that I like couldn't ever be queer, like I just like never thought that what I felt wasn't the same thing as being straight. And then I talked to some people and I was like, oh wait, I am attracted to women. So, yeah.
So when you say you're bi, like, what does that mean to you? What does it look like to you?
Well, it means that actually when I first like came out, the first person I came out to is my cousin, actually. It was like June 2021 and it was, you know, Pride Month. So he was posting something and it was like a ratio. It was like 10% same sex, 90% opposite sex. And my cousin posted that and he was like, that's me. And just that like realization that I could be like, oh, it's not like 50-50 or whatever, and I'll talk more about that in a sec, but like I immediately just DM'd him and I was like, that's me too. Like, and so at first it was
you're saying like 10% attracted to the opposite sex or
no, opposite, sorry,
10% attracted to the same sex.
Yeah.
Okay, so this isn't like a figure that's showing how many people are LGBTQ.
No.
Is it just 10%?
Yeah, it was like a ratio that's saying like this is bisexual too.
Gotcha.
Like just because you're only like still attracted to like a few people of the same sex as you, like that still counts as bisexuality. And since then I think since I've been able to be honest with myself, I've realized like, oh, like I don't have a ratio in my head anymore. It's just like if I see someone and I'm like, they're attractive in my head, or a lot of my celebrity crushes are girls, but I do have a boyfriend and I'm dating him. And so like right now, like my focus is him. And so yeah.
What would you say to someone who says like, why does it matter? Like, why do you have to come out as bisexual if you have a boyfriend?
Yeah, that's been like something, I think that's a reason why it took me so long. Cause I've been dating him for 2 years. So I was, yeah.
Is that longer than you dated her sister, Ben?
Much longer.
Yeah. His name's Nolan, by the way. So I'm going to probably bring him up a few times.
Nolan, by the way, is he related to John,
no,
by the way?
Nolan, just Nolan.
Okay, that's not his last name.
Yeah, so...
That's a John, by the way, joke, too.
I was like dating him when I was like really seriously considering that I was bi. And like, I actually like I remember like having a conversation with him and like crying and being like right after that I read that book by Hank Green and I was like, I feel like I am this way. And then at the end of the conversation I was like, no, I'm not like I'm not. And then he was like, okay. And he knew, like when I later came out to him, he was like, I know. I knew. And like I think him validating me was so important to me because like he knows that like he doesn't want me to break up with him. Like we still want to be together, and but he knows that it's still important for me. And I think something that like I've realized that like why it's important to me is because I want to just know myself. Like Stacey Harkey talked about like being your authentic self, and that episode is like one of my favorites because that's like what like a sexual identity to me means for me is like just knowing myself better because I mean I'm 21, like I'm going through a lot. It's just trying to figure out like who I am, and I just feel like that's an important part of me. So
yeah, awesome. Thank you, Sarah. And you know, as you were talking about like getting to know yourself better, I was starting to think about like why it's difficult to be bi and like why bi erasure might exist, and just like thinking about my own experience. Like I knew a lot of guys who would come out and they would say they were bi because that was easier, and then they would say actually I'm just gay.
yeah.
And like bi for some people seemed to be like a stopover, and so people would say, well, you're not really bi, you don't really understand who you are yet. Like once
or you're just like scared of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's that, but also I remember like the first woman I like dated, just like praying every day. Like I was like, God, like please change my orientation. Like please change my orientation. And then I was like, you know what? I can deal with being attracted to guys. I just need to be attracted to women. So I was like, God, just help me be attracted to women. Like I can deal with being attracted to guys.
Yeah.
I was like just make me attracted to women. And then when that didn't work, I was like, just this one woman, just please, just this one woman. And so there was a thing in my head where like it would be easier if I were bi.
Yeah.
I love this thought of Ben praying to be attracted to your sister. I
That is a true story. but I'm thinking of a different person. Like I was talking with someone else. But
Okay,
yeah.
sorry, but no, that's like a real point. Like it would be.
So in my head, I was thinking
Right.
it's easier to be bi. And so because you like Sarah,
Because then you can choose.
yeah, because Sarah's a woman dating
Quotes.
a man.
Quotations.
Like
Yeah.
that's the
Right.
quote unquote easier choice.
Okay,
And-
there's a lot to dig into.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that's something that I struggle with when like people a lot of the time have that reaction when I come out to them where it's like, oh, but you can choose, so it's okay. And it's like the whole point is that I still want to be able to love who I want to love. You know, like that's still really important to me. Right now, who I want to love is the person I'm dating. But like if I weren't dating him, I have no idea who I would fall in love with because like I said, it's not a ratio. It's just like I am attracted to people. And so like it's choosing, but like I also don't feel like you have that much choice of who you fall for.
Help me understand. Like it sounds like it feels invalidating when someone says, "Oh, well, it's okay because you can just date a guy." What does that feel like when people say that to you?
Well, it just feels like, because like so long I felt like it didn't matter for me. And so like, and that's why it took me so long because I was like, well, it doesn't matter because I'm dating a guy or like I'll never be with a woman anyway. Like in my head, I was like, no, I'd never be with a woman. So it doesn't matter. But like, so like the fact I've finally like overcome that. So when other people are like, oh, but it doesn't matter, I'm like, no, please stop like reinforcing the thing that like really made me struggle with myself and like who I was, and just it made me feel like unnatural when I was like trying to figure out like who I was. And so now that I finally feel good about myself, it's hard getting that like reminder of what I once felt.
It like brings you back to that place of like a lack of acceptance and like maybe shame,
right?
Is that the
yeah?
would that be the
Well,
right word?
and like imposter syndrome is a big thing that I like mentioned to you before, Ben. That it just like I feel like I don't belong because I'm dating a guy, which like a lot of it has to do with bi erasure. And so like when other people are like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's like, no, please, like this still matters to me. It's okay if it doesn't like change my life technically, like just because I'm not dating a woman right now doesn't mean it isn't important to me. So
So bi erasure in the form of you're like straight passing.
Yeah.
So people don't see that you're bi.
Yes, exactly.
Can we put a pin in this real fast and just like, can you just tell us what is Bi Erasure?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think there are like different levels with like history and media, but like on a personal level, it's kind of just like you are not bisexual. Like it's saying bisexuality isn't a real sexual orientation. It's saying that no, you're just like straight or you're just lesbian or gay, and saying that it's not a real thing because it's like that's not how it works, and that's not true.
Because depending on who you're dating, you would appear either straight or
yes,
lesbian.
exactly. And just because like I'm like people say this to me that it's like, oh, but you're dating Nolan, and it's like, yes, I am, but like that doesn't mean that I don't still crush on Florence Pugh. So it's like it's still important to me, even though it doesn't look like you said, like straight passing.
So what would you say to someone who says like it doesn't matter, like why do you have to announce who you have a crush on, or like that you like girls if you're dating a guy?
I would walk away probably. I think like it goes both ways too, because I know people think like, oh, you're not like trying to date women because like you were raised in the church, and so like you just like have that hesitation, like you're dating a guy because like you feel like you can't date women. It's like, no, it's not that way either. It's I'm dating a guy because I love him and that I want to be with him, not because like I'm like lying about my sexuality.
So it kind of sounds like part of it stems from this feeling of like other people making assumptions about you and just rolling with those assumptions, and you're like, no, I have to tell you who I actually am.
Yes,
like
yeah.
This is the real me. And it's hard when people keep trying to like put you in one of those assumed boxes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And like I know it like doesn't, it's so hard because like when I come out to people, I don't want to make a big deal out of it because I'm like, this isn't like changing anything right now, and it doesn't change who I am, but like it's still important to me, and it is honestly like that's one of the hardest things about being bisexual is explaining why it's still important to know that about yourself.
Yeah, and I want to hear more about that. Like why does it matter to you, or like help us understand like why it matters to you that people know this about you?
That's kind of hard, honestly. I think like, so the other day was National Coming Out Day, and I'd been thinking about coming out to everyone for a while, but I like didn't want to make a big deal out of it. But I think like it's kind of the same thing, like even if you're not bi, it's just like a weight on you. Like I want people to know me. I don't want to feel like I'm hiding, even though it's not like I talk all the time about like, oh, I'm so attracted to women, you know, like I don't just like talk about that all the time.
I would never say that.
Yeah. But like, it's just hard feeling like people don't get to know the real me. And I know it seems like, it even like seems like to me sometimes it's like, okay, why does it matter? But like, it's just a part of me that I want to be able to bring up casually, you know? It's just like, I want to mention that I'm bisexual if for some reason like it comes up in context, you know? And it does. Like I can't think of an example right now, but like usually when I come out to someone, it's like, oh yeah, I'm bi, and like that's like why organic. This is yeah, exactly. And so like that's why I want people to know, because I just want to be able to not feel like I'm hiding all the time.
Yeah.
So.
You know, I know that this is a different experience, but I remember like when I finally like came out publicly and told everyone that I was gay, the weight of like having to hide just like came off of me. I didn't realize like how much like hiding had put this weight on me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you were also like hiding a part of yourself, and that weight is removed when you tell people.
Definitely.
And also it's like I don't know how much shame you experienced for your orientation, but like I had so much shame. It was like once I like named it and then started telling people, it's like that shame just like started to just like poof and go away.
Yeah, it can't survive in the light.
Yeah. I honestly feel that way. I still feel like, I mean, I literally came out to everyone like last week. So I'm like, ooh. Yeah. So I still feel like a little scared. And like last week I went to the rally, like for the universities who like discriminate using against Title IX anyway. And I was there and I was like in the front row, and the whole day I was like, oh my goodness, there's so many pictures like being taken of me. But I wanted to be there and show my support for other people who have it harder than me. And I also just like wanted to show people that this is something that is a part of me, even though like sometimes it doesn't directly affect me, it still hurts me, you know? So
Can I ask, so I'm interested in like how you like came to realize this in yourself, and I'm gonna like guess.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but
It's okay.
I'm just thinking of my experience, and I'm exclusively attracted to the same sex. Like,
So if you had like had a pie, how
like it's a gay pie, and it's an ice cream cake. Actually. But
are ice cream cakes usually square?
that's fine. It can be any shape they want.
Okay.
So anyway, I remember it was really difficult because there was a ton of cognitive dissonance, and I kept trying to convince myself that I was attracted to women. And like I said, I'm exclusively romantically attracted to men. And so like I would like, I obsess over the divas, my girl divas, and I love pop music. And so like, I'd be like, no, I love them. Like I'm attracted to them. And I would like try to push those feelings in a way that was more socially acceptable. And even that was so confusing. And like, I am on one side or the other. Like I'm like 100% gay.
Yeah.
And it was hard to figure that out. So I can't imagine what it would have been like if I was floating somewhere in the middle and I had all that same shame, similar cognitive dissonance, and I was like trying to convince myself, but like both are happening at the same time. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, like this conversation I had with Nolan right after I read that book, and I was like sobbing because I was like, I don't want to be this. Like, I can't accept that. Even though like I knew that it wouldn't change like my relationship with Nolan, like it was still something that I had been taught that was gross. Like I think the word gross was like ingrained in my head that it was like, this is a gross thing. And so it was
Sarah is gross.
Yeah.
If she's this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, and I didn't feel that about other queer people. I just felt it about me. And so like it took me so long because I felt like I wasn't allowed to, like in multiple ways. Like I wasn't allowed to be a member of the church and queer. Like that didn't exist except for Ben. Like literally, I'm sorry, Ben, but like Ben was the only person who I knew who like existed in both of those worlds. And that's why like coming to BYU and meeting queer people who were also at BYU, I was like, oh, this can exist here. And it's actually surprising like how many queer people are at BYU, but like I just like naturally gravitated to those people. And when they started talking about and a lot of them are bisexual, when they started talking about their experience, I was like, oh wait, like that is the same as me. And I think like that conversation when I first said it aloud to Nolan, like I think this might be me, after that conversation, like I kept denying it, but like after saying it out loud, I knew it was true. And I think just
it's
like
your testimony.
Yeah.
Yes. Testimony is found in the bearing of it.
Dang it, I said it.
Yeah, and so it's just like it was something that I had already acknowledged, and I knew once I said it that it was true, and I like put it away for a while. And I still like for a long time I that's why I like didn't come out to people for a really long time, because I was doubting myself because I wasn't dating a woman. And, so many people have been like, well, if you haven't like kissed a girl, how can you know? And it's like, are you kidding me? When you were 12
when you know,
and
you
you
know.
had a crush, did you kiss them and then had a crush? It's like, but it took me a long time because I was asking myself those same questions. I was like, oh, but how do I know? But it's like, wait, but I knew about these guys. And so it's the same thing with these girls.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said that you sobbed when you told Nolan. Do you sob when you come out now?
Oh my goodness. Me about to cry right now. With family, yeah. Like I came out to Becca a few months ago.
Your
and
older sister.
Like, yes. And I was like, I knew she'd be so cool about it. Shout out to Becca. I love you. She's going to listen to this. But like, I was so scared because she knew me my whole life. And like my family, like all of my siblings have been so amazing. And my parents, like I knew that they'd be okay, but it was just like, they know me and I don't want them to see me differently because I'm not different. Like I've always been this way, even if I didn't realize it. Like I have always been this way, and it doesn't change who I am. And so when like I went to study abroad in London, and that was kind of like my test run of like casually coming out to people. and like first like testing the waters to make sure they weren't homophobic.
Because these were all people that you didn't know before.
Yeah. And so like I could be brand new Sarah, and I wanted to be myself. That was like my whole time in London was about finding myself, and like part of that was just like casually coming out to people. And so with that, like it was so much easier with people who like didn't really know, but with like the people who know me really well, it was really hard, and I get very emotional really easily, so lots of sobbing.
Did you cry coming out to those relative strangers, like those new friends?
I don't think so. I think maybe if I like brought up an experience I had, I would like start crying. But I remember I literally came out to two of my friends like on the tube in London because it was relevant to the conversation somehow.
That's a subway, Charlie.
You think I haven't been to London?
No, I know you've been to London.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, so I think like coming out to people who didn't know me as well, or the stakes just like didn't feel as high, because like though they were my friends, I was like, if you don't accept me, then like I can cut you out of my life. But with my family, like the idea of like them not accepting me was like really scary.
So Sarah, you've used the word like imposter and like imposter syndrome. Tell us what you mean by that. Like, why are you an imposter? Or how are you an imposter? Or are you an imposter?
Yeah. Well, I feel that. Oh.
No, I just like that word. Like when you said it, I was like, okay.
Yeah. I feel that in like so many aspects of my life. Naturally, I'm a math major. There are 12 girls in the junior core, and it's like I feel it there. I just like I'm always overthinking like how people see me, even though most people probably don't notice. But with like being bi, I feel like an imposter in the queer community a lot of the time. And like I went to do you guys know Encircle, like in Provo? Yeah, I went to a carnival this past summer, and it was amazing, and I like loved it so much. It was one of the most uplifting experiences ever. But like I was like kind of nervous to go because I was like, I'm dating a guy, because it felt like I didn't belong, because like I wasn't acting on my like same-sex attraction, you know, like, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm bisexual, but it still is like a hard thing for me to realize that like, no, it's okay that I'm like, because that's what bisexuality is like you can be attracted to more than one gender, and it's like that is a part of the definition, but it feels to me like sometimes I don't belong. But that's a lot on me and less on other people.
Well, it sounds like there's this like social erasure and kind of cultural erasure, but there's also like this like internal feeling that you should erase yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And like
that's so sad.
I mean, it's been a journey, and I'm still like getting better, but I still do like people will be like, oh, but how can you know if you haven't dated a girl? And like people will suggest me going on dates with girls like while I'm dating Nolan, and it's like that's not what I want, and it's not because I'm like in denial of my sexuality, it's because I want to be with this person.
Yeah. Okay, along with that, I've there's a couple like I guess misconceptions that I hear often about bisexuality, or people will say like, well, explain this, and I don't really have like super good way, so I'm wondering if you could. Okay. You're doing great, by the way. Like, I'm really enjoying this conversation.
That's good.
So along with that, like oftentimes people to me will say things like, well, bisexual people are they'll just like be with anyone, they'll like sleep with, it's like almost like a promiscuity type of thing. So it's like you just want more. You want more relationships, so you're choosing both.
Yeah.
And that's it kind of is like similar to what, tell me about that.
No, that drives me crazy. Like people think that you're more likely to cheat because you're bisexual, and it's like, no. Like I like saw this TikTok once about a bisexual girl like coming out to her boyfriend, and he's like realizing that I like won over everyone else now that she has like double the playing field. And like that's what it is. It's not like I'm like, oh, I want to be dating Nolan, and I'm also like gonna go and try and find other girls. It's like, no, I've still like found the person I want to be with. It's just like it drives me crazy, actually. I'm like, there's like, I cannot find a statistic somewhere that is valid that's like bisexual people are more likely to cheat. It's just like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And it reminds me of what you were saying earlier about just like wanting to be seen for who you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not so much like that you want to date everyone regardless of their gender or sex.
Yeah.
It's just like you fall in love with who you fall in love with, but you also want to be seen for your peculiarity as well, because that's a component of your life.
Yeah. And I feel like we've talked about people like telling me that I don't know myself, and like obviously just implying that I don't know myself, and they're like, oh, but how can you know? And I think that's like the biggest frustration is because I do struggle to know myself. Like I said, I'm in my early 20s. It's like hard to find yourself.
Well, I honestly feel like with that, like, don't knock it till you try it, or how do you know if you haven't tried? Just like invert that on there.
Yeah. Oh, I've
and just
done
be
that.
like, well, how do you know you're straight? Have you tried? You know, like, come on, people. You just know.
Well, I'm not sure that's the best way to have the conversation because like
I've done it though. Reddit comments. Oh my goodness.
because what they're doing is by erasure.
Yeah.
They're saying, well, this can't be your experience unless you've done this. Why do you think people would want to tell you like, well, you don't know until you've tried?
I honestly don't know. Like,
Just mind your business.
Well,
like where is that coming from? That's my question.
I've had even like straight people tell me that, and they're like, oh, like I tried kissing someone of the same sex, and now I know that I'm straight. And it's like, okay, but like, did you did you have to do that? And if you did, like,
they did great. Like, I'm so glad that worked for you.
But it's like not like that for everyone. And yeah, I like don't really. I think like I understand like someone thinking, oh, being queer is like for straight people specifically, like, oh, being queer is different, so it must work differently. Like I mentioned Reddit comments. I won't talk about it, but there's like this one post that someone was talking about like her being queer, and there was a comment who was like, you can't know that. Like, you can't know that. And there was a whole argument. It was a bad night for me, but I deleted Reddit right after. But I just told him, I was like, okay, then how do you know you're straight? Like, it does work the same way, even though like everyone says that like, well, thinks that like straight is the norm, but like it doesn't work that way. Like, it's not like
You're
you
saying
guys.
there's principles of like romance and attraction and attachment that are human experiences,
Yes.
and not necessarily based on your orientation.
Yeah, exactly. It's like just because I'm like not having like I'm not having sex with a girl, like I know like that's not how it determines like whether or not I am romantically and sexually attracted.
I have two other like interesting questions.
Okay.
Right now I want to ask, do you think if you were dating a girl, your like values, morals, approach with dating and church would change based on dating your boyfriend?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh.
That is a good question.
Like, what do you mean by like morals, or just like connection to the church?
Yeah, I guess. And
Like would she date differently?
would you date differently if you're dating a girl? Like, would you keep your same like physical boundaries? Would you?
I think I would. Like, I mean, part of the reason why I like figured like, you know, I was mentioning how like I would look back on things in high school and I'm like, oh my goodness, I had a crush on her. Like, I looked back on like girls who, you know, like some girls just like to hold hands, and like that's just like how they show a friendly affection. But if like in high school when a girl like hold my hand, I'd be like terrified. And it was like this, like I didn't realize it at the time, but it was the same kind of feeling that I would have felt if a guy I was attracted to held my hand. So I honestly, like, I can't answer that for sure because I'm not dating a woman, but like I have seen like women, same relationships of two women. That was hard to say for some reason, and like their relationship doesn't look different than mine.
Yeah, I guess I asked because it seems like being queer. I almost said gay. I almost just erased you. Oh my gosh.
No, it's okay.
But like dating someone of the same sex seems like to people it's viewed as kind of like rearing up against the church. It's kind of like a rejection of like church instilled values, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like when I was dating guys, everyone expected me, like every time I've dated a guy, people have expected me to be holding different boundaries than I like my brother would with a girl.
Yeah.
But I was like, why would I do that? Like, why would I change who I am based on who I'm dating? That just like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I feel the same way.
That's interesting. That's cool. Can I bring up my other misconception?
Yes.
Okay, the other thing I've been asked, that's another hard thing about hosting this podcast, is everyone's asking me like, what about this? What about this? I'm like, I don't know. Figure it out. So I'm figuring it out. So how would you respond to someone who says like, well, people who are bisexual are just like too needy and they'll like attach to whatever human gives them attention?
Oh, thankfully I've never heard that.
Your face said it all.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot. It's
Yeah.
just like, oh, they must have had like needs that weren't met, so now they'll just like date anything that walks.
That sounds like familiar. Like I can imagine someone saying that, but nobody's ever said that to me, thankfully, because that would be like,
You have
what?
nice people in your life?
Yeah, exactly. Well, most of my friends are bi, so but yeah, I would just be like, no. Like that just like I can sort of see someone, because like I know bisexuality is like very misunderstood, and I think it's understandable. Like that's why I love the books and like shows that I've watched with bisexual characters, because it accurately represents them, and it shows the world like this is a real sexuality. And I feel like it's only been common like lately. And wait, I already forgot the question. What was it?
Are you just attaching to someone?
Oh yeah. Okay, thank you. I like got lost in my train of thought. But like I don't think it works that way, and I understand that people like have misunderstandings about bisexuality, but I think like that's why these questions, like I think someone who asked me that and with like a bad tone or like you were just needy, I'd be like, go away. But if someone like genuinely asked
Like,
me
well,
that,
I don't need you.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I would not be able to think of that on the spot, but I would think of it later. But like if someone was asking that and like genuinely curious, I would explain. It's like, no, like it was something that I was born with. And I know we don't really know that much about like sexuality and like how people are born with it and stuff, but like I feel like I know enough about myself that it is something that I was born with.
Sarah, I'm not quite sure how to ask this question.
Uh-oh.
But it's not a hard question.
Okay.
But you're 21.
Yeah,
And 5 years ago we wouldn't have been having this conversation.
definitely not.
And I also wonder, like 5 years from now, you'll look back on this conversation and you might think things differently.
Yeah.
And
Ben's saying you might be lesbian in
no,
5 years.
no, I don't know. I mean,
That it's probably not true.
no, that's not.
Bi Erasure. No, just kidding. I know that's not what you're saying.
But I just kind of like want to give you space to be like allow yourself to like continue understanding who you are and like your relationship with yourself, with those you love, and yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a
No, I think that's amazing. I'm so impressed with like your knowledge and your confidence in yourself.
Oh, dear.
You're like you really found yourself in London. I think we should all go.
No, literally, it is the place to go. Seriously.
Because it seems like you're very sure of yourself and you're very knowledgeable. And at the same time, I think Ben's right. Like, I mean, stepping into this space publicly, like, talking about these things at such a young age, like there is new information and we're always discovering things about ourselves. And so like you can give yourself space in the future too. And you should, because you deserve it.
I think that's something that has scared me a lot with like, not just like coming out to people, but just like being a person in this age where like everything is online. I'm just like so afraid of saying something and then later not feeling that same way. Because the past couple years have been a lot, like while I've been finding myself, have been realizing like, oh, is this something that I like ever even really like asked myself was true? Or like I was talking about in London how I like was finding myself, and a lot of that had to do with the church. And like I would go to my ward in London and it was such an amazing ward and I miss it so much.
Was it Hyde Park?
No, it wasn't. It was like we were in like the outer city, and so a lot of the people from the ward were from like Nigeria or other parts of Europe, and it was just like really diverse, and I got to work with primary and it was amazing. But it also like I really worked on like, okay, how do I see God and like how can I find God? Because a lot of my self-discovery has been like finding myself and finding this sounds like so weird, but like finding God within myself.
I don't think that sounds weird at all.
Okay.
That sounds really incredible.
Thanks. I've been listening to this audiobook lately called Untamed, and it talks about like your inner knowing, and I've been talking to my therapist about your spirit and how we are like all born with spirits. And I really love the idea lately. It's like my new favorite idea of like God gave you your spirit, and like that's how he can communicate through you, is like knowing yourself. And that's what I'm really like trying to do right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, how painful is it when we're like getting to know ourselves and people say, no, that's not you.
Yeah.
And then the confidence to have to say, no, this is me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm good, and God knows me, and
Yeah.
and is communicating with me.
Yeah.
And if you don't look back on your former self and cringe, then you're not progressing. So like, I hope in
true.
5 years you look back on that and be like, oh my gosh, there's so much I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, I look back at my high school when I like came out and all my high school friends saw me. I'm like, I know you guys never expected this. I know, but like here I am. It's true. I promise.
Cool.
Because I was like I was still like the core of who I am was still very similar, but like I said, I like never even thought of the possibility that I was allowed to be queer until I came to BYU.
So what would you say to someone who does identify as gay, but use the bisexual as the stepping stone?
Oh.
Somebody like myself.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was bisexual for 2 weeks. It's true.
2 weeks.
I never told anyone except my therapist, but I was
Oh.
like, I gotta be this.
And
Come on, baby.
and I was never bisexual, but boy, did I pray to
Would
be.
you-
Yeah.
afraid to be.
Yeah.
So like, how does that make you feel? Like,
I think like
because really, like, I'm perpetuating the stereotype that you have to like live against. I'm really sorry.
No, it's
like,
okay.
Thank you. I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I actually, my sister Rachel, like when I first came out to her, and this was like last summer, I think, I told her I was bi, and she was like, that's awesome. And she was so supportive. And she said, sorry, she did use you as an example. She was like, and like, it's okay if like you're not certain on that sexuality too. Like Charlie Bird was bisexual, and then he was.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
knows me.
and like I know that she didn't mean any harm by that, like, and it was honestly really validating for her to say like that's like it's okay if this isn't your
Like,
final
whoever
decision.
you are,
Yeah,
you're-
exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
And like that's something that scares me so much, is like I said, I'm like so scared of saying something and then years later like not saying that same thing, and I feel like I'm not allowed to change. So like I think I understand why people do that. Like I really do, especially like I was at the rally and I talked to some of my like friends who were queer, and they didn't want to go because they were scared, and like some of them were like, honestly, like we kind of have more at risk than you do, Sarah. And it was true, and it didn't like offend me at all, because I am dating a man, and it's like less scary for me because like I can't get in trouble. And so like I feel like I understand the like safety net of being bisexual.
But also, like, isn't that cool that like you can be like a middle ground space for people
Yeah.
still? Like, I really think we need all of us, because, for example, like saying I was bisexual, like I never think about that. I just, because it was just a snapshot of my
Yeah,
life.
right.
But it was really, really helpful for me to understand myself and get to the point where like I actually could start working. And so, and I'm thinking like you in a social situation maybe could like connect with someone who is more comfortable because you're dating a man and help educate them.
Yeah.
And like, I just really think that like we all need to be in our spaces and like the vineyard or whatever and work where we stand, and then we'll cover all the ground.
Yeah.
So I think it's amazing that you're
Thank you.
that you're in that like middle kind of gray space, and that sometimes, you know, like play to those strengths.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, we all have different flavored pies, and all the pies are delicious and important.
I think that's like one of the reasons, like I was trying to explain earlier why it's so important to me, why it matters so much to me that people know that I'm bisexual. And I think that is one of the reasons, because like I see people who are just lesbian or just gay, and they like feel like they don't belong as much, and like I want to show them. This sounds like I'm praising myself. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's
We'll
just
praise
like,
you.
yeah. Thanks. But like it's like it is easier for me to be more open about it because I'm straight passing, and like people will be like, oh, she's bi, but she's dating a guy, so it's okay. And like that does frustrate me, and I know it frustrates a lot of bisexual people, but at the same time, like it does help that I can still show my support through the queer community and showing that I am bisexual and I am still a part of the community and I care about all the people in it.
Yeah, I love that you can see the positives and the opportunities even in situations that can also be difficult.
Yeah, thank you.
That's cool.
Love that.
Well, Sarah, this has been awesome. I feel like I've learned. I know the listeners learned. And I hope that, like I said, you look back on this and are just mortified because you've come so far.
Hopefully I don't look back at it like tonight.
Hopefully it's not like
That's
next
what
week.
I'm scared about.
Yes, but right now we're just super grateful for you, for your wisdom, and me personally for your friendship, and I'm just so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. It was really nice. I did not expect to like actually get a chance to be on here, so thank you.
I gave you an open invitation like 4 months ago.
I know, but like I don't know. I'm young and like unexperienced. It was literally like Bi Erasure for myself. I was like, oh, but I'm not experienced, but like I'm bisexual. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed this or other episodes, please consider leaving us a review, following us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at Questions from the Closet, or sharing this podcast with someone you love. And as always, please remember that we do not represent the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or Brigham Young University. I'm not trying to be prescriptive or tell anyone what to think or what to do.
You heard 3 perspectives, and there are many, many more. We encourage you to listen to other voices and hear a wide variety of experiences. If you would like to submit a question or share a comment about today's episode, you can email us at questionsfromthecloset@gmail.com.
Until next time.